She's playing her.
Recording? No, I'm good.
Do you need to do anything? Is it already going? Okay.
Okay, so as you guys walked in, everyone should have grabbed 4 items. You should have a yellow folder, 2 of the white pages. Those are not stapled so that you can use that as your master copy as you make copies. And the yellow, we'll get to it, but that's an exemplar of documenting your tier groups. And then the yellow folder is what houses all of this very valuable information. So the purpose of this today is just for us to understand the differences between tier 1, 2, and 3, and how we implement them across all classrooms, how we use them to make data-driven decisions, not just, they seem low, okay, put them in sped testing. The tier folders really drive how we are moving forward with sped testing to ensure fidelity, just making sure that every child is getting consistent interventions. And then the folders, they really provide a story of the students learning. And let's say that they're moving to tier 3 from tier 2. It paints a perfect, beautiful story for the tier 3 teacher to know exactly where they stand. So those of you who don't already know that tier 1 is regular classroom instruction. Every child, every day gets tier 1 instruction in your classrooms and in specials. Tier 1 is just regular instruction. That naturally, as teachers, that comes natural that you differentiate in your tier 1 instruction. That is not considered tier 2 or 3 instruction. Also, that is a good gauge of our universal screening and to know, okay, who needs what, or informally identify. So then we have tier 2, which is additional small group instruction. You guys know we have 2 tier times a day. The tier time is a non-negotiable. We stop and drop. And that's just to be fair. If there's children leaving your room for tier 2 or tier 3, and you continue teaching, then that's going to widen the gap for the student that has left for their tier group. So please make sure that during your 2 tier times you are stopping everything and dropping, mostly to ensure that the student leaving for tier is getting an equitable experience with everyone else. Also, that a tier group is not in lieu of a small group. So if I'm a tier 2 student, I should be getting a reading group during regular tier 1 time and a reading group or intervention during my tier 2 time. So tier time is not in lieu of a tier 1 small group, it's in addition to. So these babies need extra support. So it doesn't really make sense if we cut their tier 1 small group and then give them their small group during tier 2 time. I know that that's perfect world and it's hard to fit everyone in, but those are our most high-risk students and we really need to be giving them as much support as we're saying we're giving them. And then tier 3 is more at risk than tier 2. Tier 2 is very fluid. Maybe they're having a little trouble, we can intervene, and then they can go back to tier 1. Tier 3 is very high risk. They're on the verge of needing a sped referral. We really need documentation so that we can paint the picture for the sped team to approve us to test, or maybe the tier 3 intervention works, and then we can put them down to tier 2. That's what we hope for. That's the purpose of it. So for the sped processes, we will have tier 2, if they're struggling and they've never been identified tiers, they'll be in tier 2 for a whole 9 weeks with explicit and progress monitoring, and explicit instruction. If the 9 weeks, this student has not grown at all, we are seeing, oh no, red flags everywhere, then they get 9 weeks in tier 3. In 9 weeks in tier 3, if they still are not growing, we're seeing that this child has made 0 improvement with intense support in tier 1, intense support in tier 2, and now intense support in tier 3, then we can consider a SPED referral. And we have the documentation to back that up, but keep in mind that the gaps have to be really large. So in kinder and first, it's really hard for us to get a kid qualified for SPED, and then we kind of stinks for the child because then we have to wait 3 more years to test them and identify. So sometimes the reasoning of waiting to test is unfortunately that the system says they need to be really behind to be considered SPED. So keep that in mind. So, like I said at the beginning, the documentation, it's really frivolous, and honestly, it's my biggest growth point. I'm really terrible at doing it every day, and it's really annoying, I understand, but we have to document. Especially if we get audited by the state or anything like that, we could get in big trouble. And also, it really helps with SPED. It really helps us identify SPED children correctly. Yeah.
So we have hard copies for this year documentation. Would we be able to also be given a faster copy that's
Digital? Sure, I can share it with you, absolutely. If y'all didn't hear, she asked for a digital copy. I can just share with the staff in case you want to type it in and print it.
I have a question.
Sure.
There was a training over the summer that some of the teachers went to where it was like some kind of digital. Yeah.
On Blair's campus, Ms. Milton wants both, right?
Well, the one online is more of like a little summary, but this one is one that you'll be using like every single day. So it's kind of
That one is more vague, and this one is more
the one that you're
specific.
actually. And branching lines is not rolled out in the district just yet. So I don't know when it is going to be. But when I went to my account, it wasn't activated. So even though it was activated this summer, they're not. So I don't know if the license is going to start soon. I don't know how it's going to work. So.
And the SPED team, we document ours in a different way on Frontline, which is a little more daunting because they will tell you, you are 125 delinquent, you need to catch up. So SPED is also doing this for documentation, just in a different manner. This is kind of how to set up your folders. You'll see on the folders that you received, they have those labels. Those are, we're not using those anymore because they got confusing, and we're just handwriting it on the folder. So just math or reading, the date that they entered, their grade, and tier 1 or tier 2. So if you want to take a picture of this, I understand that we're missing a lot of folders. There's kids that we know we documented in the years past. I don't know what happened to them. This building shuffled a lot this summer, and I'm sorry, that's very frustrating. If you would like to put additional eyes, Ms. Ward and myself went through the filing cabinets twice, but if you still would like to put additional eyes and look for your old folders, feel free to. The filing cabinets are in the interventionist room. Do you have a question?
Are you going to share this?
I can, yeah. All right, so the yellow form, you'll see the yellow packet that you picked up, that's an exemplar. It's very detailed, it has the dates, it tells the type of intervention, it tells the concept, and then it gives a brief synopsis. This child struggled with this, or they've mastered this, we're ready to move on to this.
And Julie and Montana, thank y'all.
Yes, shout out to Roxana and Judy, because we copied somebody else for exemplars. And you'll see some of them are typed, some of them are handwritten, whatever floats your boat is great. Yeah, I think so too. And I think one is Miss Ward's also. So it's strong because there's clear and consistent data. The handwriting is legible. It's quick to reference, especially for the SPED team who needs to see, yes, let's SPED test this child, or whoever gets the next. A tier 2 teacher if they're moving down from 3, or a tier 3 teacher, vice versa. Just like I said, just helps for smooth transition. This is partially a note to self, but daily success tips is do it every day and then use it as a living document, and if you need help, just ask, because 2 heads are better than 1. And that's it. Does anyone have any questions, concerns?
Coming down, that getting a kid moved into SPED or getting a kid moved around in SPED is going to become much more difficult. The documentation has got to be detailed, and it's got to be the 9 weeks, this intervention, and that intervention, and the next intervention. So without all this detailed documentation, it's not gonna happen.
Yeah.
So if we are doing it online, is there a folder we're putting them in?
Online as branching minds, or online on this one?
If they want to print them out instead of handwriting.
We would print them out and put them in here.
Yeah,
At the end of the year.
correct.
Okay.
Or if they switch tiers, print it for the next person.
Just want to get clarification on students who are already identified SPED.
So if they're already identified SPED, with the numbers that we have this year, we're seeing that they're not really taking precedence in the RTI groups. If there is room for them and scheduling allows, then by all means.
So,
But if you are serving a SPED child in an RTI group because it works out for whatever reason, you need to document as well, because like we've seen, we want placement changed, or we want to remove some services, and we need documentation for that as well.
okay, so if we are still serving them through tier, even though they're already identified SPED, still be
Yeah.
available with them?
Yes. Good question. Any more? Yes?
There was some confusion, I feel like last year, there was like this 20% of MAP, and you were not technically tier unless you were, like you were unofficial, so can we, for our tier 2, like how it was in the past, like, hey, they cannot subtract, so this is gonna be my subtraction group, and then not necessarily going like legally on like the 20% MAP, or is
Right.
that more for the tier 3 who's going to Vicky, or is that still kind of fluid on how we're determining that?
So I think that when we use words like tier 2 and tier 3, there is the legal aspect of it, right? And so just like you were saying, you may have some kids that don't fit like a tier 2 profile, they're just receiving extra support. But then those tier 2 and tier 3 students are those that are actually the 20%. Like, those are like.
But everyone gets a yellow folder regardless if they're
Because they
20% or
really
not.
enter a tier 2 or tier 3. And they're gonna ask, just like Ms. Wolters just said, the name, it's not like the name and needs process. It's really, I'm gonna share the document, they gave it to us, was it this week or this week? They gave it to us this week, and I'm gonna share the document about what that looks like, because it's a long process. But there are some cases, for some friends who need expedited.
Yeah.
Yes, Allison?
So the tier 2 groups like are more fluid,
Yes.
like you said, so is there like an expectation, so I want to put this child in tier 2 and meet with them because of X, Y, Z. Do I need to keep them in tier 2 for like 4.5 weeks or the full 9 weeks?
4.5 weeks is when you in tier 2, or you can think about if someone is ready
So
to
that like
leave.
halfway?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And then obviously, if they need to move to tier 3, they're probably not leaving after 4.5 weeks, so. Yeah. All right.
They're not using MAP to tell us for kindergarten who needs to be tiered like we did last year, are they?
I haven't heard about that, have you?
Because last year, I mean, it was like 75% of the class was tier 2 and tier 3 because they don't know how to take a math test. So they might know how to count and they might know how to do all of those skills, but they scored really badly on the test.
I would say use your best judgment until we get directive from the district.
I would use your report card data, your, all of those things, because some of them are just starting, this is their 7th week of school, so.
All right, thanks, guys. Thank you. Do you have anything else?
Are we ordering more yellow?
Yes.
Yeah, and I have some in my office.
Okay, team, next tutoring expectations, gonna be 2 days per week, a week for